A lot of you have been asking for a tutorial, like a very detailed stamping tutorial. So you asked for it, you get it. Now I've already prepped my nails, and then I'm going to just go through and clean them quickly with isopropyl alcohol to make sure there's no dust, debris, or anything else on my nails. It will also help dry out cuticles, so if you see any other cuticle mess on your nails, you'll be able to get that off. I am going to use Peel Off Basecoat for this manicure, and Dream On from Sinful Colors, which, it's an okay color, and Bam White from Maniology. So I'm going to grab the plate that's the Polynesia set. This is from when Maniology was Bundle Monster, and we're just going to use those arrow images. The first thing I'm going to do is go through and put this base coat on. I'm putting this on very thin. Do you see how the brush is splaying out across my nail? That helps keep it thin. When you want a peel off base coat to stay on longer, you put it on thinner and thinner and it will stay longer, believe it or not. You can also leave a gap around the edges of your nails and around the cuticle area, and then seal that in with a top coat. That will also help a peel off base coat stay on longer. I wanted to show you from this angle what I'm doing when I paint, because again, do you see how the brush is splaying out across the nail? This is exact opposite of what you want to do when you top coat. So when you are top coating, if your stamping is smearing, you're probably doing this with your brush, and you should not be. Don't do multiple strokes for a top coat or any of that, and we're going to get into that more, but I wanted you to specifically see it on this while I'm painting the base coat. You see that splay? That's great for a base coat to keep everything nice and thin. All of your color coats, in fact, you can kind of use that technique to keep them thin. If you do it too thin though, it'll kind of drag and get, so you've got to find the balance with whatever polish you're using. And then once you get all that thin stuff on, I do have a nail dryer, which is great for peel off base coat. Pop my nails in the nail dryer real quick. It'll dry that base coat in a heartbeat, which is great. So you don't have to sit there and wait and wait and wait. I'm doing the same thing here with the color coat. Notice how I'm starting in front of the cuticle and wiggling the brush backward into the cuticle area. There are some people who like to leave a gap in front of the cuticle, again, because when you put a top coat on, it helps seal it in from the back and that kind of stuff. For me, I don't normally have chipping from the cuticle area at all, ever. So I don't prefer to do it that way. I like my manicures to last as long as possible, and my nails grow quickly. So for me, I prefer to have it way back up into the cuticle. And again, same techniques over and over. See how I start in front of the cuticle, and then I kind of push the brush up closer to it and then pull down. Most nails I can do in 3 to 4 strokes across the nail. It just depends. And again, I'm doing thin coats on purpose. I need everything to be thin when I'm stamping. And I go back through and I'll just take a cuticle stick, and if I think anything is on the cuticle anywhere, I'll go ahead and clean it up, or if I'm not doing my other hand, I might just do it with a thumbnail. It depends on what I have going on. But as you see, when you look at this polish, this is why I said it's kind of rank, and that's how you can start to tell if polishes are good, great, or okay. I would call this one an okay. It's not bad, but it's not great. It's kind of streaky. Do you see, like, especially on my index finger at the moment, how it's moving around a lot? It's kind of puddly. It's a self-leveling thing, but it's almost like it self-levels a little too much to where it gets kind of puddly. I hate it when polishes do that. It makes me crazy because it's very hard to get an even layer across your nail when they do this. So generally, if you find a polish like this, a lot of jellies are guilty of this. Super thin layers, again, I can't say that enough, super thin layers, but still, you know, do a good job. Now, I wanted to show you on my thumbs, they have ridges in it, and you see on this thumb right there at the edge, there's a big puddle where it's a lot darker in color than the rest of the nail. That's where I have ridges. So if that is something that bothers you and something you don't want on your nails, make sure you get a ridge filling base coat. Now here's what's cool, because we've already put 2 base layers down, you can kind of just go in and put the next coat on. the polish will naturally stick to the other polish that's there. So on the second coat, you don't really have to push back into the cuticle. You can just kind of start at the cuticle and pull down because it already has that base coat to grip onto. It's less likely to puddle, pull, and kind of get all over your nails if you do it that way. But you see how part of it's a light color and part of it's a dark color, like it's just patchy. I hate that about this polish. And the sad thing is it's a beautiful color, so it would really look great on your nails. Also, just to give you guys a heads up, this is January 2021. I am on a no-buy this month with the exception of my subscription boxes. So I'm not going to be buying any new products for this. I want to use products that I have and products that I may not have used before for these tutorials. And I do have the whole series coming up. So if there's something that you specifically have a question about, please leave me a comment below. I will answer you first off. And second off, I will try to film that video. Because these can go on as long as we need for them to, for everybody to be happy and comfortable and go, oh, I understand how to stamp now. Because at the end of the day, that's what I care about. I made this channel because I got so frustrated watching people go, I've stamped twice and I can't get it to work, and they're mad and they quit. When it's can be challenging from time to time, but it's also so much fun. And when you get the hang of it, it is just a blast to do. So I am going through now. I'm using a Sally Hansen no chip top coat. Same technique as everything else for painting the nails. I'm going to do a thin coat and go ahead and top everything off. Do be careful with top coats, especially from the Sally Hansen line. As much as I like them, some of them tend to get bubbles in them, and if there's a bubble on the brush, there will be a bubble in your nail. So make sure you turn it from every angle. That's why you see me kind of turning it back and forth to check and make sure that there's no natural bubbles in there. Then the other thing that can cause bubbles in your nail polish is if you try to force it to dry too fast when you have thick layers on. That's one of the reasons I started doing my nails, actually, is I was going to like a beauty college to get manicures. It's a long story, but I started doing that and I kept getting ticked off because every polish that they put on me would bubble, and we're talking like OPI and all this stuff, and I still have other issues with OPI, but that's a whole other thing. And while we're at it, make sure the very first thing you need to do when you get ready to stamp is to peel off the protective film. Some companies have a clear film, most of them use a blue one. And then I have a cotton ball holder. You can also use a wooden clothespin for this, or you can put that between your fingers, okay? And some acetone to make sure all the stickiness is cleaned off of the plate. Now back to bubbles for a minute. As you're drying your nails, if you put them in a nail dryer and you have a thick polish on, that can also cause it to bubble when it dries. So you need to make sure there's no bubbles on your brush, no bubbles when you're drying. Like, don't try to dry too fast. This is not Queen latex. This is what was left of my Queen, and then I put that Halloween liquid latex in on top of it. I do like it. I have been waiting to announce that. Somebody asked the other day, so yes, I do like it. It does have some differences from the Queen one, but it actually, I feel like, comes off a little bit easier, so it's good. Stampers. This is a selection of different stampers that I have and a stamping card. I have a whole video on stampers. I'm going to put it in the cards up here for you guys to watch. I have gone into very detailed things about what I like about different stampers, why I like them for different projects, and my opinion on the best way to use them. I'm going to put that up here for you, but I just wanted to show you. The round one is a monocle stamper. This is an ice cube stamper. This is the one that gets the worst rep from new people, is the ice cube stamper. And then this is just a double-ended stamper for smaller stamps. So it's really great if you have little tiny nails or a little tiny image, or you don't want to have to pick up and put stuff off on a lint roller. You do have to pop a stamp out of whichever end you need to see out of, but it does have a tiny, tiny stamper head and then kind of a mid-range stamper head. So it's a nice one to have and watch, because Maniology puts them on sale a lot. I also use a lint roller for all of my projects. I use that to get excess stamping off of the stamper before I put it on my nail. This is the #1 problem with stamping right here. Do you see my nail turning white? That's because I'm pressing too hard. I hate to break it to you guys, but when you say, oh, my stamper's broken, my stamper doesn't work, my stamper's a piece of crap, I can't get this stamper to work, it's not the stamper, it's you. So here's how you're going to fix that. Do you see how I'm just letting that fall? That is about as much pressure as you need to make these stamps pick up. I will put a stamper between my fingers and kind of tap it. If it can't rock and kind of swing back and forth, you're holding it too tight. If you hold it too tight, that means you're going to mash it tight onto the plate because you're panicked that it's not going to work. See how this clear jelly one just kind of swings back and forth? That's the motion for stamping. It's just a little flick, like a little flicky roll. That's it. You're not digging in, you're not pressing down, you're just rolling it across, literally rolling. When you see stamping videos of people mashing stamps down into plates, they're not using clear stampers most of the time. If they are and it works for them on those certain plates, great. But if you are new to stamping and you can't get it to pick up, that's what you need to do. Now I have applied my liquid latex everywhere. Notice when I showed on the video that I did on the back side of my nails as well, because if you use a large stamper and you press down, it can transfer to the skin behind your nail too. So you want to make sure all of that is covered up if you don't want to have to clean it up with acetone. Now there's different ways that you can apply, your polish to it, to a stamping plate. If you go down one side, you need to scrape the opposite direction. So if you pull down, you need to scrape left to right. If you put the polish on left to right, you scrape down. So see, I'm scraping down here. Now by scrape, that does not mean dig your card into the plate and scrape off every last little bit of polish that you can. You can just barely run it all across the top, just enough to get that off. I notoriously see people mashing down on stamping cards too. This is a very gentle, loving experience. You need to get as hippity-dippity as you need to get into your calm, happy place for stamping, and just take everything calm, slow, and relaxed. So I've pressed my image down, and with that monocle stamper, it's kind of squishy, so you can just squish it across your whole nail. And then you go through, and this is what I do. I take a wooden cuticle stick, I break up anything that I don't want to mess with my nail, okay? And then I just move on to the next one. You can peel the latex off last, especially if you have double stamping to do, which is the next one we're going to talk about. But see, look, gentle roll. I'm catching it while it falls. That's how you need to think of it. You're catching the stamper while it falls. You're not pressing down. You're directing the fall. Have you ever done Kung Fu? You direct people away from you. I have taken Kung Fu for about a year and a half. It's not a mash. It's not forceful. It's just redirecting. Okay? So you put your stamper down, you redirect it across the plate. Then you go through, again, break up all this polish that's around your cuticle area so it doesn't stick to the polish on your nail, because it can make it lift back up if you do it too soon. The image on the plate here is more of a negative space image. And so you do have to make sure you use enough polish to fill in that entire plate. The finer the image while you stamp, the faster you must stamp. Okay? You cannot have a bunch of teeny tiny fine lines and take your time. If you notice on my setup here, I have this set up so that my polish is very close to me, my card is right in my face, and my stamper is also very close to me so that I can grab the card, scrape, pick up the stamp immediately, let it fall and pick it up across the plate, take your image, press it down. What you're seeing here is actually real-time stamping. This is all real-time, even though I have edits in some of it. Scrape, pick up the stamper, right there, pick up your image, press it down. Don't wait, don't mess around, don't play with it. You see, that didn't pick up all the way, but that's okay because it's not going to go on my nail. I'm going to hold it off to the side and stamp it so that it is what ends up coming off of my nail. Most of it anyway. I just realized there's dots in the top of that one around my cuticle too. And that can happen sometimes. If it bothers you, stamp it again. If it doesn't bother you, move along. Now I'm going to go through and take off this latex barrier. This is what I call a latex booger. You know, it's not very mature, but that's what I call it. When you get the first little piece peeled off and you get your little booger piece, you can stick it to the rest of your nails or the rest of the latex, and it should pull it right off. It makes it so much easier than trying to scrape it off your skin with cuticle sticks and all that stuff. You just use your little booger, rub it into the next set of latex, and peel it right off. Super fast, super easy, big time saver, believe it or not. And everything just comes right off. And then I go in with a very small amount of acetone and a cleanup brush and just kind of dab in there, make sure that there's nothing on the cuticles, and I get ready to top coat. Notice on this for my thumb, I'm bending my thumb in a downward angle. I always do this for top coat. And then what you want to do when you top coat over stamping is one swipe for each section of your nail. See here, I'm showing you how my nails are flat, but when I film, if you notice, there's a little arch in my finger and under my fingers. That's so I can tilt down. When it comes to top coat and a polish application in general, you want to swipe off one side of the brush. Leave the bead on the other side. Do you see how I'm able to just go in and boop boop, 3 strokes done? We're going to go tiny thing. Notice how the brush is not splaying out. It does a little bit, but not a whole bunch, because I have a big bead of polish on the underside, and I'm keeping that bead where it needs to go and just directing it across the nail. Super fast, super easy. Do not do multiple strokes. Do not press your brush down really hard and splay it through your polish. It will smudge it every single time. Now, there are some people who use a no smudge top coat. I do not prefer that myself. I tend to find that it also smudges way too easy, and I don't particularly care for them. On the whole, though, there are a lot of people who do use them, so if it's a constant problem for you, you might want to try no smudge top coat. Not last and not least, I do go through and put cuticle oil around all of my nails on the underside and also on the back side of the nail as well. Once you've done that, you should be pretty good to go. If you need lotion on your hands, put lotion on your hands. I rub cuticle oil in like crazy 2 to 3 times a day. I have little mini bottles of it everywhere. It's on my desk at work. It's on my nightstand at home. It's in my nail room. It's on my computer desk where I edit videos. Everywhere. Anytime your cuticles look dry, go ahead and put some oil on them. You'll be amazed at how much better they'll look, how much better your skin will feel, and how quickly it will help heal any problems. So this is how you do a single stamp, your first stamp. Let me know if you have any questions. I will answer any questions below. I appreciate you watching. There's going to be more videos in this series, so keep an eye out for them. But in the meantime, you're more than welcome to click in the corner and watch the next video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.